welcome to another live for our online trade show. For those of you who don't know me, I am Conni. I am a nail artist based in Stirling in Scotland. I am a brand ambassador and educator for Light Elegance UK. Hi guys! I've been in the industry for around 8 years now, and I've been using Ellie exclusively since 2019. Fell in love with the brand. They've really shaped my nail career, and yeah, now I'm so lucky to be a brand ambassador and now educator for them, which if you don't know already, the education in the UK has kicked off. I have already had my first couple of classes, which were a massive success. I really enjoyed them, and the students seem to as well. So yeah, hopefully we're on a roll now. I am going to be showing you some fruity nail art today. So we have lots of different little designs. We'll try and get our way through most of them if we can in the time slot, but we'll try and squeeze in as much as we can. Obviously nail art, it's all personal preference, it's all abstract, isn't it? So you can change the colours as you like, but I'll show you how I like to do it in my techniques. Like I said, these lives are for the online trade show, which is happening today. So hi everyone, how are we all? Hi! So yeah, it's for the niche online trade show. So the code is niche20 and that's valid for today only. It will save you 20% site-wide. So make the most of it, stock up on any bits you've been waiting to or anything you'd like to try. It's a great time to do that. If you're catching up on this live a bit later, you can use my code Conni, which is CONNI, and that will get you 5% off site-wide any time of year. So yeah, let's get started. We also have, after me today, we have Jojo. She'll be showing us her lifting prevention techniques. Really great. We also have Lenore doing summer nail art, and the lovely Jessica with her blink tips application. So we will get started with our fruity nail art. Just flip this round. So any questions guys, please just pop them down and I'll do my best to answer them for you. Hopefully you can all see that okay. So I've already prepped my tips with a wee variety of Jimmy Gel shades. So we've got a couple. Hopefully you can all see that okay if it's going to focus. Take these out just now. So we have these two on the end here are Diamond Dust. So it's a really beautiful shade if you haven't tried it already. It's a really nice soft pink and it's got a slight iridescent blue to it. We then have this one which is Lady Pink. This one which is Sparkling Rosy with a really nice sheen to it again, and we have one with Precious. So obviously if you're doing nail art you can do it on any base that you like. I just think it looks really lovely on the nude bases because it just really makes the colours pop, but obviously if you want a coloured base, go for it. Contrast is all in just now anyway. So we'll start off with this one. And so this is Lady Pink Jimmy Gel, and I think it goes nice with the strawberries because it gives a kind of like strawberry milkshake vibe, but obviously you can do whatever you choose. So I'm going to be using Real Red, Primary Green and Pastel Yellow gel paint. So these two are gel paints, this is a ButterCream. Obviously again, colours are all interchangeable. If you wanted to make it a more pinky strawberry, pinky red, you could use something like this, or you could also use the neon gel paints, they would work really well as well. So we'll start with Real Red. So it's a really lovely, just pillar box red, goes with everything. It's very well loved as you can see. So here, my tools that I'm going to be using, I have my selection of Light Elegance styluses, so the dotting tools. So we have number 1, which is just the super fine point that's really good for getting any of those tiny little details. We have the number 2, which is the kind of medium dotting tool, and number 3, which is slightly bigger. So for our strawberries, we're going to start with the number 3. Sorry Jojo, I've just seen your comment and I thought you'd meant there was a technical issue on my end, but I think it's your end, so we're all good. Hi everyone, like I say, any questions, pop them below. The team will be on to answer any that I missed, but I will try and keep on top of them as well. So like I said, we'll be starting with number 3, and I also have a fine liner brush to hand as well. So that's all the tools that I'll be using for all of our designs today, so keeping it quite simple. Save some room on your desk as well. Zoom in a little bit, hopefully that's okay for you guys. Your technical issue, Jojo. Okay, amazing. So we're taking a nice little amount of real red on our dotting tool, and I like to just use the dotting tool to map out the shape of the strawberry. You can go in with a brush to define it, but you don't really have to. So we'll start here and just placing that on. Obviously you can make these as big or as small as you like. It's quite nice to mix it up, and we're just making that kind of rough rounded edge sort of triangle shape, and that's going to give us the shape of our strawberry. So we'll pop a few of these on, some different sizes. So like I said guys, if you're just joining us, welcome. Thanks for joining me today. This is our lives for the online trade show, which is happening today only. So we have our code, which is niche20, which will save you 20% off the Light Elegance UK website for today. And if you are catching up on this at a later date, remember you can use my code Conni, which is valid anytime. And we'll pop another little one just on the bottom here. So you'll probably have seen from my page that fruit has been having a little moment recently. I think it's everywhere, but my clients certainly have been loving it. I think we've done every type of fruit that you can imagine. I had 1 week where that was pretty much all I did. There was a lot of clients going on holiday and they were all wanting the fruity nail art. I'm just going to pop this in the dot just for a quick flash cure before we move on to the next set. Which, yeah, it was really fun and really great for holiday nails. I had blueberries, strawberries, oranges. The cherries are popular all year round, I find. I wanted to give the blueberries a go because I hadn't actually tried them until this year, and I had one of my clients ask for a mystery set, so that's a little nail art option that is always available to my clients, and it's my choice to get it at a slightly reduced price. So we went wild with the blueberries and I just loved how they turned out. Super cute, but they're all really fun. Just add a wee pop. So obviously when you're doing this on your client, especially if they're getting more than one nail done, I would do a nail at a time, definitely, or a fruit at a time, just depending on the speed that you work in. And I tend to just flash cure in between hands and in between certain nails, because they're always going to be going back in the lamp, and it would become very time consuming if you were to fully cure every single step. So I always do flash curing, and then once the design is complete, they're in the lamp, hands in the lamp for a full minute to make sure we are fully cured. So we've got our base for the strawberries done. I'm going to now switch to my fine liner brush and I'm going to go in with pastel yellow gel paint, which is a really lovely colour. It's been very trendy this summer so far. So obviously for the little details on the strawberry, you can use any colour you like. I've done it with pastel pink gel paint, we've done it with white, but I think if you want that kind of, not realistic look, but true to a strawberry look, the yellow is a really good one to go with. So I'm just taking, I don't know if you can see that, the smallest amount on my brush, and I'm even just going to wipe that off a little bit, just so there's a tiny little amount there. And we're just going to place some little kind of oval shapes where the little seeds of the strawberry would be. So you just want to use a really, really light hand, and you can just pop these on wherever you fancy, but you can see that just adds a wee detail, just makes it pop a bit more, and then obviously our leaves will complete it. Just doing that again on the other one, just taking a little bit more product as you need to, but like I say, you want to keep it very, very minimal. There we go, and last one. Lovely, so we'll pop them in again just for a flash cure. Just making sure you're wiping off your brush and your tools in between with the LA Pro cleansing wipes. You can go in on top of the inhibition layer as well for your nail art, or you can also use flat matte top coat before you go in. It's a really good way to get a nice matte base. It means there'll be no gel spreading or running or anything like that. You can see I haven't actually top coated or encapsulated any of these yet, but once I have done that, once I have completed my design, I do like to go in with a coat of Skinny Jimmy before my super shiny, just to even out any of those little uneven spots that you can see, especially where the nail art has been raised with the dotting tool and things like that. Unless obviously if your client was wanting a more 3D look, that can be really effective as well. So we've got that done, and I'm now moving on to Primary Green gel paint for the leaf details. So again, just taking a tiny amount on my brush, wiping that off, and I've kind of flattened my brush so you can see it's wider on this side. I'm going to take the flat side so we get super, super thin lines. And then I like to kind of, it's almost like a star that you're drawing. I find that gives the most kind of effective look. So we're starting here, just doing a little cross, and then again sticking with that flat side of your brush and just completing that kind of very basic star shape with those edges. And if you need to find you need to go in and add a bit more product, you absolutely can, but it's better to start off with lace and add some more. There we go, so we have our wee strawberry. And obviously the beauty of it is they don't all have to be exactly the same. It doesn't matter if they're a little bit different. I think it kind of adds to it, if anything. So there we go, that's our wee strawberries done. So you could fill the whole nail with this, or you could just do a couple. And like I say, it's nice as a wee pop just on the one nail, or equally as nice if your client wants to go wild and have a full set. But yeah, well, I'm going to leave that in the lamp for a full cure, but that was a little strawberry set that I did earlier. We'll top coat them all at the end. So I think next we'll move on to the blueberries, because I think that was the one that certainly caught the most attention of my clients and comments and things like that. So we will get that done. So I'm going to take the tip that I have prepped with, which one was it? Diamond Dust Jimmy Gel, because it has that slightly iridescent blue sheen to it. It just works really, really well with the blue and the blueberries, but obviously you can do whichever you would prefer. So the colours that I'm going to be using for this one are, we have Peekaboo, Night Owl, which is a really lovely periwinkle baby blue, and also Just a Mirage, which again is like a really lovely periwinkle bluey purple. So it's that perfect blueberry colour. But of course you can use whatever colours you have in your collection. They are all interchangeable. It's nail art, so you can use any blues really that you have, but I just find these work really well. So we have our tip all prepped. I'm going to start off with Just a Mirage, and we're going to be using again the number 3 stylus dotting tool, so the slightly bigger one. So I like to do these kind of all different sizes. I find that makes it the most effective. Hopefully you can all see that okay. So we're starting off with a slightly bigger one up in the corner, and again, don't worry, it doesn't have to be the perfect circle or perfect. It's that, again, that kind of adds to it. So I've been doing them in little kind of clusters of 3 just because I think it looks quite cute, especially when they're finished off with the leaves, but if you want to do 1 or 2 you can absolutely go ahead. And you can see the ButterCreams and the gel paints are just great for nail art because they're so pigmented. You don't really need to go over any of the colours with a second coat. Just really quick and they get the job done. So again, popping that in for a little flash cure, wiping off our tools. And now I'm going to move down to the number 2 stylus, which is a slightly smaller dotting tool. And we're going to move on to our lighter shade of blue. So I'm using Night Owl, but like I say, you can use whatever lighter blue you have. And just taking a little bit of product again. And then we're going to go slightly off centre towards the edge and just do a smaller dot on all our blueberries that we've done already. So just like that. And like I say, you can add more product, make them a bit bigger if you need to. I do like to take them quite close to the edge, just makes them look a bit more 3D once they're all finished. And again, we'll do these going up to the top. Just like that, and we'll pop that in again for a wee flash cure. Any questions, guys, just pop them down. Thank you all for joining me. I hope you're all having a lovely weekend. Tell me what you've been buying from the website and the trade show already. If you haven't already made your order, remember you can use the code niche20 to save 20% site-wide for today only. Really good wee saving there. So again, moving on to our next shade of blue, which is the darker one, so I'm going to be using Peekaboo. And for this we're going to be taking our liner brush again. So I'm just going to give that a wipe off and get the blue off my glove there. There we go. So it's really nice and thin and taking a point at the end. And again, we're just going to be taking a very, very small amount of product here. So that's all you need. Hopefully that will focus. And we're going to do, so I like to do a kind of crisscross shape just over where we did the lighter blue dot, and that kind of gives it that blueberry look. So again, don't worry too much about them all being the same. Don't worry too much about going over the edge of your circle, because again, that kind of just makes it pop a bit more. I'm going to do that here, just take them over a little bit, and you can see that just kind of adds to the effect. Taking a tiny bit more product. And then just doing that on all your blueberries. Went over a wee bit too much in that one. But any that have ever been sat in my chair before, you'll know it goes against everything in me to keep chatting while I'm doing nail art. So bear with me. We always laugh because my clients all know we have a good chit chat when we're doing their prep and even the gel application, but once it's time for nail art or colour application, it's just like stick the music on and while I'm concentrating. But there we go, so they were in for a quick flash cure there. And I think the thing that really sets it off are the wee leaves. So again, just going in with our primary green. But again, you can use any green that you have. I find chemical imbalance also Looks really cute if you want a more muted green. And I've just got a little bit of green on my glove. There we go. Oh, they're so cute, Connie. Thank you so much, Lenore. Jojo, we all hold our breath at the nail art stage. We absolutely do. I have to remind myself to breathe sometimes. And then have to remind my clients to breathe when they're getting their nail art photos taken, because they're trying to be so still. And then just putting some wee leaves on, just anywhere you think. So I'm just using again my fine liner brush, and these can be as abstract as you like, as big or as small. I like to keep them a little bit small and do them in, again, wee clusters of just one or two. So this is where a really fine liner brush is good, because you can kind of drag out the end like that, and it just kind of helps make the point for you, which is quite effective. And just add on one more. There we go. So I'd say I'm quite happy with those. Pop them in for another flash cure, and then just to complete the look, I like to go in with just white and just add a couple little details onto the leaf, which again just really makes it pop. So taking a really tiny amount, barely any product on that brush there, and then I just like to run it through kind of the centre, but maybe just slightly off centre, just like that. I don't know if you can see that okay, and it just helps make the leaves pop a little bit. So there we go, that's our completed little blueberry design. So again, just popping that in for a full cure this time. So that's blueberries done. We've done strawberries. Any requests for what we do next? We've got the cherries, the citrus fruits, or I also did some little watermelons and dragon fruit, so you can let me know while that's curing. And I'm going to close up all of these before I get myself covered in them. Lenore, it's all fun and games until the nail art starts. Absolutely. Make sure you've got some good tunes on, because there'll be no chatting when it's nail art time. Lovely blueberries, Kelly. Thank you so much. Jojo, they look so good. Oh, thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Alan. So that's our blueberries done, and I'll also take our strawberries out of the lamp as well. So you could obviously add some leaves to your strawberries just to finish it off a little bit as well. Whatever you fancy. Lemons. Okay, Jojo says lemons. Okami Nail says lemons, so we'll go for lemons. So I think I'll use the tip that's got Precious on it, which is a really nice pale pink base. There's no shimmer at all, just a gorgeous soft pink. Take a fresh wipe and just wipe my brush off before we get started. So for the lemons, I've used pastel yellow here, but you could also use any yellow you like if you were to do it using Psychedelic from the summer collection last year. That would also be really cool, but I like the pastel look, so we'll stick with pastel yellow for now. So again, just taking our number 3 dotting tool from Elegance. You want to take quite a big amount of product here, because we're going to be playing around with this a little bit more. And then you can just place it wherever you think. So we'll start up at the top, and you don't have to be too precious about this at all. Just making a kind of like rugby ball shape. You could go in with your brush, but this just saves a little bit of time. So we've got our basic shape, and then I like to just drag out the tip and the end just to give it that slightly more realistic lemon shape. So before that moves anywhere, I'm just going to pop that in for a quick cure. And for my lines, I like to use just the exact same technique. So I'm using pastel green, and we'll pop this on the same nail as well, just so we can hopefully get go through as many fruits as we can. So we've got our lemon. So just exact same with the lime, making that sort of rugby ball shape. And then dragging out ever so slightly, just the tip and the end. So there we have it, and we'll pop that back in again. Jojo said, such a great tip to use a stylus. I would have been there for 5 minutes painting that with a brush. You know, I've done that 1,000 times as well, Jojo, but it does just save so much time to just go in with the dotting tool, because like I said, they don't have to be perfect, don't they? Yeah, it's just a little time saving hack, especially if you're in the salon or your client doesn't give you much notice that they're wanting their nail art done. Lovely. So we've got our lemon, our lime, the kind of basic shape, and then I'll also go in with an orange as well. So here we've done some quite bright oranges, so I've used Trippy from the summer collection last year, which is a really gorgeous bright orange, but since we've done the rest of them pastel, I'll show you them using the pastel orange gel paint as well. But again, all these colours absolutely interchangeable. You can use whatever you have. I've done oranges before with like coral colours as well, and that they turn out really, really pretty. If you've got a nice kind of orangey coral, it can be really cute for holiday nails. So again, just using that same number 3 stylus, and you can make them as big or as small as you want. Again, for the oranges, I think they're really cute when you do a little cluster of them. So we'll do basically the same as what we did for the blueberries. We'll do 3 little ones in the corner, different sizes. So again, you don't have to be too particular about them being perfect circles or anything like that. It's just to get the rough shape down. So wiping off our tool between each colour. These are great because obviously with them being metal tools, there's absolutely no residue left on them. They're good as new, and they will last you absolutely years. I've had this reset for many years now, and they're still good as new. So to get that sort of texturised look that the citrus fruits have, I'm going to go in with just white, but you could use primary white gel paint, you could use whatever you have in your kit. And I'm going to take the number 1 stylus here. So this is there's no even dot at the end, it's just the pointed tip, which is really great for getting those tiny little dots and just picking up a really small amount of product. And then I like to just pick one side and stick to it, so you can do whichever one you like, and just doing little different sized dots all over there. Hopefully you can see that okay, and it just helps give it a little bit of texture. So just doing that on all 3. Obviously if you were using a brighter yellow, you could use pastel yellow to do your dots, so it's not too much of a contrast with the white. Like for example here with the oranges, that was Trippy, and I used the pastel orange gel paint to do the little dots, just so it blended a little bit better. But again, it's all just totally up to you. You can do it however you like. I will say these pastel gel paints are slightly brighter. They're not shown up too bright on camera, I'm not sure why, but they are slightly brighter in person. But they are really gorgeous if you've not got them in your kit, especially for summertime. I use them all the time, especially for nail art. They're really great. So there we go. We've got a little bit of texture on all our fruits there. So again, just popping that in for a flash cure, wiping off our tools. Gonna close over my Just White buttercream, and we're going to grab primary green gel paint again. again, you can use whatever green you want. I probably wouldn't use the pastel green because we have used that for our lime, but if you've got Chemical Imbalance or even like Jane of the Jungle in your kit, they would work really well for the leaf details too. And then we're just going to pop these on wherever we fancy, just to make it a bit more interesting. So just exact same technique as we used before. So I like to just place a slightly bigger amount of product on the top, and then just your brush should really help you, but just using that to kind of drag out the corner there. And then for the oranges, I like to do 2 little ones, so hopefully that's going to focus okay. So I like to do one like that, and then we'll just do that in all 3 while we're here. Get the bigger ones out the way, and then without taking any more product, flip your brush round, and then I like to just do a tiny little one coming out the other way. So again, this is where a really fine brush comes in really handy, and you can just play about with that until you're happy. But I'd say I'm happy with all of them. So pop them in from the flash cure. And like I say, this was the ones I completed earlier, so we had a couple more leaves in the slightly brighter orange. And then again, if you've got time, just go in, I like to go in with Just White and just add those little pops of white on the leaves. That's going to focus okay. I find it just really makes it pop, but just for time's sake today, so we can get at least one other one done, we'll do the cherries because they're always super popular. I'm going to leave that just now. I'll pop that on here, and we will do our cherries on. I have this tip prepped with Sparkling Rosé Jimmy Gel, which is a really gorgeous baby pink, and it's got a really lovely shimmer to it. That's actually what I'm wearing myself under my gloves. It's one of my personal favourites, and it's also really popular with my clients as well. So gorgeous wee base on its own or for nail art. And for our cherries, again, I'm going to use Real Red. I also got Poison Apple for a slightly pinkier red. You can see here there's a slight difference. So top one, bottom one are Real Red, and in the middle 2 are Poison Apple. But you can use any pink, any red that you've got in your kit. You can even do a slight kind of burgundy, or even using like the neon pink gel paints would be really cute if someone wants a really bright holiday cherry. So for these, I do like to start, you can do it whatever way suits you, but I do like to start with the green. For the cherries, it just means you can cover up any sort of little uneven bits with your red or pink. So we'll just do a couple, so you just want to make little V shapes, just anywhere you fancy. And again, depending how much product you pick up, you can make these as intense if you want, sorry, like you can hopefully see the difference there. I've used a slightly thicker layer of that primary green gel paint, and it just gives you a slightly more intense green. So we'll do them all a little bit different, and you can make them as big or as small as you like. So we'll do a slightly bigger one at the bottom. There we go. So just popping that in for a flash cure again. And your LE dot, wiping off our brush. In fact, no, we're not, because we're going to go back in with the leaf detail. So again, just taking that from the top of your little stem that we've created. And you don't have to be too precious about this either. And this one will make it slightly bigger, just because I've got a slightly bigger stem. There we go, so popping them back in for a flash cure. And I've just noticed I've got green all over my gloves, so I'm just going to take a little bit of my cleanser and wipe that off before we move on, and I ruin all my designs with primary green everywhere. Lovely, so we've got our stems for our cherries. Just going to wipe off my brush, and again going back in with number 3. If you were doing really tiny dainty cherries, you could use one of the smaller ones, but I'm using number 3 just now. So I'm taking Real Red first of all, just taking a nice wee bit of product on the stylus there, and then really simple. You don't even really have to work the stylus in, because if you're doing those sort of medium-sized cherries, it's the perfect size for getting them just as you need them, like that. For this bigger one at the bottom, again, I like to just take the product, dot it on, and then just kind of drag it out a little bit to make it slightly bigger. And again, it just saves time, you having to go in with your brush and trying to get the perfect circle. There we go. I'm just going to pop them in before we change to a slightly more pinky tone. There we go, before I wreck the place. So I've got a slightly pinkier red here, but it is still very much a red. It just looks more pink when it's next to the Real Red. Didn't pick up quite enough product there. And just on them on, so you can see the difference. It's very subtle, but just depends on what you're pairing it with or what your client fancies. Wiping off our tool again, and then I'm going to go back to my fine liner brush and just white, just to add the little finishing details. You could obviously just leave it there and it would look fabulous, like if you were in a rush or anything like that, but I do like to just go back in with the white just to add those little details on the leaves and on the cherries, and it just makes them look a bit more kind of cartoon like, a bit more like pop art like, makes them pop a bit. Nails crafting, fantastic. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for all the kind comments, guys, and thank you for watching. Hopefully you can all see that okay. So again, I've just taken the tiniest amount of just white in my brush. You can actually barely even see that. I might need to go and add a little bit more, but I like to just start in the centre of the cherry and then just drag it down. So like a little comma you're basically doing. And you can see it almost looks like the light is just hitting that cherry, but obviously no matter where I'm turning it, the white is still there. So like I say, if you were in a hurry, you don't have to do this, but it's the wee details that make all the difference. And then again, just dragging that white on the leaf there. And just the same again, tiniest amount of product. Start in the middle, just down the side and along the centre of the leaf. And then here I'm going to take a slightly bigger amount of product just because I've got a slightly bigger cherry. And you can add a bit more pressure here just to get a bit more product placed down at the tip of your comma shape, and then just reducing your pressure as you're dragging it down. And then the same again on the leaf. So there we go, some little cherries. So you'd obviously want to pop that in for a full cure if it was your client, because we wouldn't be doing any more nail art before the top coat. But just for today's sake, we'll just do a quick flash cure. So where are my ticks that I prepped earlier? So we've done our blueberries, we've done our cherries, we've done our citrus fruits, our strawberries. I have about 5-10 minutes left, so I'll quickly show you a wee watermelon. So I have one more left here. Again, this was Diamond Dust that was on this tip, but you can use any nudes that you prefer. Jojo says the details really make such a difference. They absolutely do. And it's those little things that your clients will notice as well and will make you kind of stand out from everyone else who's doing cherries everywhere. They just make it that little bit more special. But like I say, if you're short in time, they're absolutely fine as they are. But if you have the time to add the details, absolutely do. Also, make sure your clients are giving you enough notice if they're having nail art, because it is time consuming as much as we're doing these pretty quickly because it's just one nail at a time. Obviously if you're doing more than one or a full set, it does take a lot of time, and obviously make sure you're charging accordingly as well. Just however you charge for your nail art. I tend to charge for any sort of fruits. I charge at my detailed price rate because it is a detailed nail art that they're getting. So make sure you're charging your worth for it. So for this one, sorry I should have said, I'm taking a nice shimmery pink for our watermelon. So it's smooch that I have here. But again, you could use any shimmery pink you have. You could use Sassy Squatch is really lovely. I like to use a more pinky one, but you could go in with a red. Absolutely. So taking a nice wee amount of product on a liner brush and just doing a kind of rough triangle shape. So again, you could absolutely use your number 3 or number 2 stylus for this as well. So we'll do a little slice, and then we'll also do a kind of half slice. So I'm just drawing a little kind of half moon shape here beside our triangle. If we've got time, I will squeeze on some dragon fruits, but we'll stick with the watermelon at the top just now, and then just popping that in for a quick flash cure. Wiping off our brush. And then for the skin of the watermelon, I like to use pastel green and primary green. But again, any light green and dark green you've got will do. You could also use white. The white and the dark green works really well as well. So going in with pastel green first, I like to just do a little line. Not picked up quite enough product there. A little line, just following along from where you've already placed that triangle, just like that. And then the same again here, just following that outline. I'm just going to add a little bit more product here, just like that. And then again, pop it in for a little flash cure. And we're going to switch to primary green now. So you'll see a lot of the techniques that I'm using are much the same, just in different colours and slightly different shapes for all the fruit. But once you get the hang of it, all the techniques are really interchangeable. You could do pretty much anything. You could even do like your lemons and limes like this as well if you wanted a little slice. That would be really effective rather than doing the whole fruit as well. And then I'm just outlining that again with the darker green. There we go. You can see it kind of coming together. Wiping off a brush. Christina SO says, looks lovely, could you add chrome? Do you think you could absolutely add chrome onto any of these designs? They would look lovely. For that you would just use your no white top coat and apply your chrome. I then like to go in with a thin layer of tack. I have a separate tack that I keep for chroming, and then topping it off with your top coat of choice again. That would look really effective with like a pearl kind of chrome over the full nail. But honestly, I don't think they need it. Especially when you're using those Jimmy gels with the lovely sparkly base. It just gives it a little something special without being too much. But absolutely, that's the beauty of nail art. You can make it your own and you can go as crazy as you like. And I'm just going to take a tiny amount of black tie buttercream just to finish this off. Artisan Nail Studios, they're super cute. Thank you so much, Kelly. Christine says, thank you, great tip using tack. Yeah, do keep a separate one if you can, because sometimes some of the little particles of shimmer do get stuck in the brush, and then you wouldn't want to be transferring that onto your client's nails if they were having like a clear base or anything like that. But if you've got an older bottle of tack, if you're going to be replacing it anyway, keep it aside and label it for your chrome. It's a really good wee tip. So I'm just popping on some tiny black details just for the watermelon seeds, and that's our watermelons done. So again, obviously if it was your client, you'd pop it in for a full cure, and like I said, I do like to go over all of my nail art designs, or most of my nail art designs. You can see if they leave a little raised amount of product, Skinny Jimmy is great for just a quick clear encapsulation layer and in your top coat. But that is us. We've got through most of them, just the dragon fruit, but again it's just the exact same technique that we used for the watermelon with different colours. But I hope you have all enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll enjoy the lives that we've got from Jojo, Lenore and Jessica coming up tonight as well. So thanks again for watching, guys. Make sure to tag me if you use any of my techniques, and yeah, make the most of the discount. Thanks, bye.